Welcome to the Clique podcast. I'm Dani, a mindset and manifestation expert and founder of the Clique, a company that helps women overcome their fears and limiting beliefs to create a life and business that they love. Within this podcast, I will help you get clear on what you want, identify the blocks that are holding you back, transform your mindset and raise your vibration so that you can co-create magic with the universe. If you are looking to design a life that truly sets your soul on fire and manifest more success and abundance, then you are in the right place. Hello, ladies. So this episode is for anybody that is perhaps at the beginning stages of their coaching journey, or maybe even thinking about becoming a coach. And you're thinking, who am I going to help as a coach? What is my coaching niche? This is probably one of the most common questions I get asked, actually, whether it's from our students or from, women that reach out to me. How do I figure out my coaching niche? Okay, so this is something that I really want to dive into then for this episode, because I'll just explain a little bit what a coaching niche is for anybody that doesn't understand that. Basically, a coaching niche is where you are thinking about who do I want to help and what do I want to help them with as a coach. So ultimately, what is the problem that I want to solve and who specifically is experiencing that problem? So maybe the problem that you want to solve is it's the person who really lacks confidence in themselves, and they are lacking direction in life, and they would love to do something different, perhaps even start a business, but they don't have the confidence to do so. So the problem is they're not content and fulfilled in their current career path, and their mindset is holding them back from actually moving forwards. And specifically who you want to help with that, maybe your target audience is a woman who is in her late 20s, maybe early 30s, is perhaps pretty career driven, has always kind of done what she thought she should do and, followed the path of going to university and then getting a job. And then she's realized, actually, this isn't making me happy. I'm not fulfilled. I want to do something different, but I don't have the confidence to start. I perhaps don't even know what I'd want to do. So that could be an example of somebody you would help, the problem they're experiencing and who's specifically experiencing that problem. That's an example of a coaching niche. And there are hundreds of different coaching niches. Maybe your niche, it might be something like relationship coaching. So women that have, maybe they've gone through heartbreak and they're now sort of struggling with their self-worth. Maybe you want to coach mums who are, new mums and, they've lost their identity as a new mum. There's lots and lots of different options out there. But the idea is that rather than having sort of a general approach as a coach saying, I can help anybody with any mindset issue, you really focus in on a specific group of people. And the reason why we suggest doing this is more because it's more from a marketing point of view, if anything. So chances are when you're equipped with skills as a coach, so you've got that coach training, you know how to lead a powerful coaching session, you've got access to all of these different coaching tools and exercises, chances are you could help anybody. Anybody would come to you with a mindset issue and you would be well equipped to help them, if you are adequately trained. But if you try and help everybody, or if you try and speak to everybody, you end up speaking to nobody. And this is more relevant when it comes to actually marketing yourself. If you're trying to speak to everybody when it comes to marketing yourself, you end up with a very diluted, mixed message. So maybe one day you're speaking to the woman who's struggling with their mindset and wants to start a business. Maybe the next day you're you're talking to somebody who's, just come off the back of a relationship and has really lost their self-worth. You're always going to be speaking to different people. Whereas if you decide on a coaching niche, your messaging becomes much more consistent and much, much clearer. And from a marketing point of view, it therefore becomes much more effective. It becomes much, much easier to attract clients when you are talking to a specific group of people. Okay, so it is important to start thinking about, who do I want to work with as a coach? Who do I really want to help? And in this episode today, I want to take you through some of the steps that will allow you to figure out your coaching niche. And where I want to start with this is, it's actually a quote by Oprah Winfrey, good old Oprah. And she uses the phrase, turn your wounds to wisdom. So this is something that she said before, and it really stuck with me, this idea that we can turn our wounds to wisdom. And what this really means is that things that we have experienced in our life, negative experiences, these do not have to be in vain. These can actually be things that we have experienced so that we can then later help others going through something similar. Okay, so rather than that being something we suffered with and, there is no meaning behind that, it's something we perhaps experienced, but then we can turn that into a positive by helping others that are also experiencing it too. And I would say 9 times out of 10, most of our students in the Clique Academy will be turning their wounds into wisdom. So most of the time, their niche will be something that they have personally struggled with, that they don't want other people to struggle with, and they will use their own experiences as to kind of form the foundation of their coaching niche. So for example, it might be, the woman who spent most of her 20s trying to figure out her purpose now wants to help others figure out theirs. Or maybe it was the woman who has gone through the disastrous relationships and attracting lots of the wrong type of relationship. And, going through that process now wants to help other women that are struggling to attract their soulmate. So thinking about what experiences you've had in your life, is there something that you've gone through which you think, I would now like to help others that are going through something the same? And the reason why this can be a really powerful place from which to coach is that it's very easy for you to put yourself in the shoes of your ideal client. You know what they're experiencing. You can understand what it is that they're going through. And it can be really helpful when it comes to marketing, because a lot of the reasons why people invest in a coach is because they, of the service they're providing, but also they will connect in some way with your story and your personality. Okay. And so a big part of marketing yourself as a coach is sharing that story with others, letting other people know that I've been there, I know what you're going through, and actually being vulnerable. Often we think, people assume that, for us to be this great coach, we have to, be this perfect person with this perfect mindset and, has never experienced anything negative. But actually, some of the most powerful coaches have actually been through the toughest times. Okay. And so when it comes to actually, selling yourself and selling your services, being able to describe what you've been through and perhaps are even still going through can really help you connect and resonate with your ideal clients. So turn your wounds to wisdom. What have you been through that you may be able to now help others with? Now, following on from this, you don't need to be the expert on your subject matter. Okay, so you don't need to be the expert on relationships in order to become a relationship coach. This is often where people get confused with what coaching is and what coaching isn't. Coaching isn't about giving advice. So just because, let's say, for example, it's somebody that is, let's say, take relationships. you are, somebody is struggling with relationships. They keep attracting the wrong type of person. You yourself don't have to be the expert in relationships in order to coach somebody in the niche of relationships. And the reason for this is because, as I said, coaching isn't about giving advice. So it's not about saying, oh, well, I did this in my past relationships and that's what worked for me. Or, when I was starting a business, I did this and that's what worked for me. You're not sharing your advice or giving guidance. Coaching itself, that is what you are the expert in. That's what you become the expert in. So it doesn't matter if you're not the expert in, as I said, relationships, to be that great relationship coach. What you're the expert in is coaching itself. Coaching is your expertise. Okay? Now, as I said, it can help if you do have some sort of experience in your niche, more from a marketing point of view. So when you're talking about your subject matter, you can talk about things that you've experienced just to help build that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. But you certainly do not need to be the expert. In a similar sort of point, you don't have to be the perfect example of the results you want to create for your clients. One of my favorite phrases is that you can be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. So you don't have to be the most confident person in the room in order to confidently coach your clients or to coach your clients with their own confidence. Okay, you can still be working on yourself. You can still be experiencing your own fears and limiting beliefs whilst being able to really powerfully help other people with theirs. Now, I'll give you an example of this. So money mindset has been something that has really filtered into a lot of the work that I do with my clients, with our students in the Clique Academy. Money mindset is basically, in a nutshell, your beliefs about money. What do you believe about money? What is your relationship with money? And how is that impacting your finances? So coming into my business, I had never heard of money mindset before. And when I was introduced to it, I was like, wow, this stuff is game changing. I all of a sudden realized that a lot of the debts I'd accumulated during my 20s were largely because of my money mindset, my beliefs about money, my, beliefs about people that had money, how I was self-sabotaging with money. So a lot of what I experienced with money was because of my money mindset. And so I started to really dive into money mindset work, mainly just for myself. So this was when I was new to coaching. I was working with a couple of clients at the time, and I had just discovered this work, and I was like, wow, this is really powerful. And I started to talk about it a little bit on my social media, and the clients that I was working with at the time said to me, we're reaching out and saying, you know what, I've seen that you've started to dive into this work. It sounds really interesting. Would you mind if we start to kind of explore this in our sessions? And of course, at the time, my money mindset certainly wasn't, in the right place. I was very much at the beginning of my money mindset journey. I still had a hell of a lot of debts, behind me. And, there was financially, I wasn't where I wanted to be. So it wasn't like I was saying to people, oh, I've manifested all of this money and I'm, really changed my finances and I want to now help you do the same. I was very transparent about the fact that I was still financially not where I wanted to be, but I had been introduced to this work and I could see how it was really helping. So I was that work in progress. And I had my clients reach out to me and say, look, can we bring this into some of our sessions? And I was like, of course, I'd love to be able to help you with this. It's something that I'm still going through at the same time, but, I'd love to support you with it. And so I started to weave it into our sessions and started to see my clients have these amazing shifts in their money mindset. And we were kind of almost going through this process together. And so it made me realize that For you to really powerfully coach others, you don't always have to be the perfect example. You don't have to be at the finish line to help somebody that is still in the process. Okay, so I definitely wasn't at the finish line. I definitely had a lot more work to do on my money mindset, but I'd started to do that work. And I was bringing my clients on that journey with me and was getting amazing results. So it's something to be mindful of. If you've got a passion for a specific niche, but you're thinking, I'm still struggling with this, know that that is okay. So we've had students that have been, that are amazing coaches, and maybe they're working with confidence or self-love. And behind the scenes, I'm coaching them on their own mindset and self-love and self-worth. And that's okay. They can still show up powerfully for their clients and still hold space for their clients and lead them to these incredible transformations, whilst behind the scenes, they're still working on their own inner development. They're still doing the work on themselves. And the thing is, there's always going to be more inner work to do. The inner work is never done. There's always going to be more for you to grow or more for you to develop. And that is okay. So you don't have to be this perfect example of the results you want to create. Now, the other thing that is worth mentioning when it comes to figuring out your coaching niche is to choose your niche from a place of love versus fear. And this philosophy can actually be applied to any decision you need to make, whether in business or in life. Make a decision from a place of love versus fear, something you really want to start getting into the habit of. So what do I really mean here, choosing from love versus fear? So love is where you are being led from your heart, leading from that place of desire, leading from a place of, this feels good for me, this feels expansive for me, versus leading from a place of fear. When we make decisions based out of fear, it's often for the wrong reasons that we do things. So when it comes to the coaching niche, for example, leading from a place of love would be, I am so passionate about this niche. I am so passionate about helping others within this niche. I get so much joy from talking about this specific topic. I would love to connect with other people that are experiencing this. Acting from a place of love is making a decision on your niche based upon what really, really lights you up the most. Whereas acting out of fear would be something like, okay, I am going to choose to do this niche because it might not be my preference, but I feel like it'll be the one that I'm most successful in. I'd love to do that, but I fear that perhaps I can't be successful in that niche, or perhaps people won't be willing to invest in that niche. Okay? And when you're driven by fear, you're often making the decision for the wrong choice. Okay? Any choice where you are leading by love rather than being driven by fear is always going to get you to where you want to be. Okay, when you allow yourself to be led by love, to be led by desire, to be led by what truly lights you up, versus your head, your logic telling you, or maybe this one will be more profitable, or maybe this one would be easier for you to do. Okay, you always want to go with what's going to light you up the most. An example of where I see this play out quite often is the amount of people who think or consider choosing a coaching niche purely on the basis that they believe it will be the most successful or the most profitable. So an example of this is, okay, I would love to help people grow their business. I'd love to help, do business coaching and, to help them create more success in their business, because they believe that, well, if I'm helping people make money, they're much more likely to invest. But really, their passion lies in helping people with their relationships. But their fear is that are there people as willing to invest in that as they are within a business? And then they choose based upon fear. They choose the wrong niche because they are choosing for the wrong reasons. It's not necessarily the thing that lights them up, but it feels like the safest option. It feels like the more secure option. So they're being driven by that fear. And the amount of times I see this happen and people not being true to themselves and true to who they're really meant to be as a coach, and then struggling to see success. Because any decision that is driven by fear will rarely get you to where you want to go. So you need to start getting honest with yourself. Is this the path that really lights me up? If success was inevitable, no matter what niche I chose, would this really be the one that I would decide on? Or would I decide to do something else? Okay? So make sure you're acting from a place of love versus fear. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is what to do when you're perhaps at the beginning of your journey and you don't necessarily know what your niche is, but you want to start making momentum in your coaching business. Now, maybe you're in the position where there's two different niches that you want to pursue, or you've got a few different ideas and you're not sure which one to pick. Or maybe you've just got no clue what you want to do. Now, what I will say is in the Clique Academy, so helping the students we work with figure out their coaching niche, this is something that we dive into in a lot of depth. We get on coaching calls. It's things that we discuss within the Facebook group. There's lots of exercises to help with this. We go into this in depth. The idea is that we want to help our students figure this out as soon as possible. The reason being, and there is a reason behind this, if you figure out your coaching niche relatively early on in your coaching journey, it means that as you are developing your coaching skills and training as a coach, you can simultaneously start building your audience. Okay, so building an audience online using, social media, it's a great way to attract clients. Okay, and the idea is if you know who you're speaking to, so you know what your coaching niche is, when it comes to building your audience, the content you're supposed to be creating, who you're meant to be attracting. Okay, and so it means you can start not just building up any kind of audience online, but you can start building up an audience that is aligned with your ideal client. Okay, you can't do that if you don't know who your ideal client is. And so why that is important, why it's a good idea to do that sooner rather than later, is so that when you are ready to launch your coaching business, when you're ready to start working with paid for clients, rather than starting from scratch and thinking, well, now I have to go out and try and find the people who need what I offer, you've already been building up an audience of people that you perhaps would need what you offer and that you would want to work with. So it means that when you get certified, you're ready to start working with paid for clients, you've already got an audience there to tap into. Okay, so it's not necessarily going to mean a failure of your business if you don't do things that way around, but it's definitely going to help. So if you're somebody who wants to start monetizing your services sooner rather than later, the sooner you start building your audience, the sooner that will be able to happen. But you can't start building your audience until you know who you're speaking to. Okay, so that would be, my first point. However, and we have this quite often happen within the Clique Academy, where students perhaps aren't sure who they want to speak to, or they're still trying to figure it out, and they're not ready to make that decision. So if that is the case and you are unclear on your coaching niche, my advice to you would be to start moving forwards and the path will start appearing. Okay, and this philosophy can be applied to lots of things in life. Sometimes clarity happens when we just start taking action. Okay, there's a really great Martin Luther King quote that says, "You don't have to see the whole staircase, you just need to take the first step." And that principle can really be applied here. Start moving forwards in the right direction. And chances are you will start to get clearer. So for example, when it comes to our students in the Clique Academy, if they're really struggling with the coaching niche, one thing that we advise them to do is start coaching, start working with people, and start, opening yourself up to different types of clients and see who you feel you naturally gravitate more towards. Okay? Don't sit there and wait for you to have that perfect coaching niche before you start doing your practice sessions. Start practicing and start, exploring the options. Start talking to people that are experiencing different issues to get an idea of, okay, is this the type of person I would want to connect with? Let's say when it comes to building your audience, part of building your audience means creating and sharing content on social media to start attracting the right type of people. If you don't know who the right type of person is right now, you can still start creating your content. Just start with what you feel drawn to. What do you feel called to talk about today? And it may be that to begin with, you create content and you're quite broad and general in your messaging. And that's fine as well, because you could do that and start to see who you naturally attract, who starts to gravitate towards you. Remember that having everything figured out is not always just our responsibility alone. The universe is there to support us as well. And the universe is going to send you signs along the way of the path that you're meant to be on. And your coaching niche could be one of those things that it sends signs on. So we've had clients before, students rather, that have not really known their coaching niche, but they've started to put themselves out there. They've started to create content. They started to practice their coaching skills. They've put themselves in that forward momentum, and the universe has sent them people into their life or opportunities that have been these subtle nudges of where they're meant to be as a coach, who they're meant to be as a coach, who they are meant to be working with. So be open to this process of co-creating. It's not always for you just to have it all figured out by yourself. If you're struggling to find the answers, be open to that guidance from the universe, because it's there to support you along the way. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a lot of food for thought for anybody that is currently struggling to figure out their coaching niche. Let's just do a quick recap. First of all, turn your wounds to wisdom. Second of all, you don't need to be the expert on the subject. Your expertise is coaching, not necessarily being the coaching niche. Linked to that, you don't have to be the perfect example of the results you want to create. You can be a great coach and still be a work in progress. The next point was to choose from a place of love versus fear. Is this being true to your heart? Are you going with the thing that you feel most passionate about, or are you acting out of fear? Are you acting out of, I fear that if I choose that, it won't work out? And then lastly, start moving forwards. If you don't know an answer to something, it shouldn't be the thing that keeps you stuck. Start moving that needle forwards and the answers will start becoming visible to you. Okay? So I hope that provided you with a lot of value for today. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode. If you're wanting to build your own successful online coaching business, make sure to check out Freedom, Abundance and Impact, our free 10-day business and mindset course for coaches and aspiring coaches. To access, simply head to wearetheclique.com and click free course in the menu.